Hello. So, I'm being called to share a message that I received. This is pretty normal for me. I just don't usually share them. So sometimes when I'm driving or sitting in meditation or reading something, I'll have an energy pop in. So it's happened before with musicians. And one time I was driving through Massachusetts and Dale Earnhardt decided to ride with me. It's hard to explain how I know that they're here. I just feel a presence and I ask who it is. And in this case, it was Dale Earnhardt. And he wanted to drive that stretch of road with me, mostly because I was open. And he said that he used to drive or travel that stretch on the way to Loudon, New Hampshire, to the races. And so he sat with me for a while, and then I know he's gone. I just feel that the presence leaves. And oftentimes after that happens, I will get a validation. So in that case, as soon as that energy left, a Dale Earnhardt tribute car drove by, a black car with a big number 3. So there's usually a validation for me in some way afterwards. So I've had this energy coming to me. He's still around. Sometimes they pop in briefly, other times they stay for a while. I've had some stay as long as 3 days, and this one has been longer. And I didn't realize that it was the anniversary coming up of John F. Kennedy's death. So I've been writing for a website, and I was writing about gratitude, and I needed a quote, and I found John F. Kennedy quote on gratitude. And as I was reading the quote, I felt the presence of John F. Kennedy. I was actually sitting in the car waiting for my mom because I had taken her to an appointment. And I felt the presence or the energy in the car. And I knew who it was because while I was reading the quote, there's just this overwhelming emotion. So I knew it was him. And he was just thanking me over and over. And I was thanking him, I guess. It was a quote about gratitude, so there was that. So I've been at the beach and I sit in meditation, and for me, a meditation is not quiet. It's actually the opposite. Meditation for me is very busy with energies or astral travel, visions. So my meditations are never quiet or silent. It's more of a sitting down and opening up. So at the beach, I was sitting, and all of a sudden there were several energies around me, actually. There were 3 masculine energies with me on the beach. One was a friend. One was John F. Kennedy. And the other was Jesus, who is one of my guides and who is with me all the time, always getting messages. And I could feel the presence of these 3 energies sitting with me. And they went into the water, and I watched them. and it's not like I'm seeing them with my physical eyes. I am seeing them with my third eye. So it's a little different, but I'm seeing them and they're playing in the waves. And for each one, there's a personal message. So as I watched them play in the waves, I asked, what is the symbolism of this? What is Jesus trying to tell me by playing in the waves? What is John F. Kennedy trying to tell me as he's playing in the waves? And so I'm going to focus in on what JFK showed me. And he showed me the waves in the collective right now. There's a lot going on, as we all know, and the systems that we're so used to are starting to crumble. They're starting to break, and we're starting to see how broken they are. So what he showed me when I went further in with him was a set of dominoes, but they were not regular dominoes. There was a little tiny one, and then they progressively got bigger. I think I've seen a video somewhere on Facebook or around that illustrates this. So a set of what look like dominoes, but they progressively get bigger. And the person in the video pokes the tiniest little domino, and that causes this chain reaction, and it keeps knocking over bigger and bigger and bigger dominoes. So what JFK was showing me was that at the time of his death was that little domino. Even though it was big at the time, newsworthy and, very important, not a lot resulted in it. A lot of mystery resulted around it. A lot of not knowing, a lot of conjecture, a lot of conspiracy. So he showed me that his death was like the little domino, and it fell over. And since then, these dominoes have been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're watching right now, as a society, as a collective, these dominoes start to fall. And for me, I always look at the symbolism, and what I took away from this was that there are things going on that we don't see. There are a lot of stories out there, a lot of questions, and since the time of his death, those questions have been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're watching the systems around us start to crumble as answers start coming in. He showed me also that at the time of his death, people sort of went into two directions. So I saw what I saw was an hourglass lying on its side. So rather than being straight up with sand pouring down, the hourglass was on its side. And following his death, people sort of went into one side of that hourglass or the other. So some went into the side of the hourglass where they didn't really believe the official narrative. They started to question what was really going on, what really happened. This didn't sound right. It didn't feel right. Where others went into the other side of the hourglass. Actually, more people went into that side of, not really questioning, just taking for granted what happened, listening to the news, listening to the stories. Some people perhaps knew what happened and didn't say anything. And there were those who knowingly covered it up. So it was these two camps, sort of. And they went into the sides of the hourglass. And there were more people who, thought, maybe something was wrong. But for now, I don't have any evidence. It's just going to go into this conspiracy theory around what happened to John F. Kennedy. So then what he showed me was that the questioning side was the smaller side of this hourglass. But then he showed me, he took the hourglass and he stood it up. And those that had not questioned, or those that covered up, those that bought the story, started trickling down into the other side. Slowly at first, but gaining speed. So, and that to me correlates directly to the falling of the dominoes. Then in addition, there was another part of the message. What I saw, it was at first a little scary, but I saw buildings on fire, like explosions. And then I saw these dark energies coming up and out of places. I guess if you've ever seen the movie Ghost, like the dark things that came up out of the ground, and I guess you could think maybe they were evil, but that's not exactly what I was getting. It was more like there was this giant sponge being squeezed, and what was coming out of it was darkness. And as the darkness came out of buildings, came out of people, came out of everything around us, the darkness was just getting squeezed out. And then those dark energies were traveling upward. And then these angelic beings were coming and swooping them up. And the sense that I got from that was that these darker shadows, I guess shadows is a better word, are part of who we are. We all have shadow. We all have darker parts of ourselves. And as these dominoes are falling, and as the world is going through these changes, we're being squeezed, and those darker parts are rising to the surface to be looked at. And those angelic beings that I saw are actually us, and we're welcoming those darker parts of ourselves. And as we do this, then these dominoes will continue to fall, and we'll start to understand who we really are. So this message is very esoteric. For some, it's a validation of what they already know is going on. For others, it might be new. Maybe you've never heard this before. But it seems significant that JFK came to me around the time of his death to show me some of these things. And again, I don't usually share visions like this that I get. But I'm also being asked to look at my shadows, and looked at a lot of shadows. To look at my shadows and my fears, and to step into them and accept them. So here I am. This is the vision that I saw, and everyone who hears it will take something different away from it. There is no right way to receive it. There is no wrong way to receive it. You receive it in exactly the way you need to, whether that's getting angry or thinking that I don't know what I'm talking about, or resonating and understanding maybe some of what I'm saying. And it's all perfect, because we're all on these journeys. So this is what JFK had to share with me. There's a lot of change going on in the world as we're witnessing, and there's a lot of truth coming out. And this truth isn't necessarily going to be easy to hear, because it's mostly our shadow side. So our shadow side within ourselves, in the micro, and also in the outer world, in the macro. And I've done channels for people lately, and it's often the same message, similar message, that we all have these underlying traumas and shadows that we perhaps don't even know are there, and they are coming up to be looked at. So in our own lives and out in the collective, out in the world around us. So this is my message from JFK. I'm not sure if he'll have anything else as we get closer to the 22nd, which is the anniversary of his death, but he's still here. So perhaps there'll be more. And so thank you for listening.